Hi, this is Krista Moore, and I love to share stories where I learned something from an experience that I had that, once applied, could really make a difference in your sales career and your sales success. And when I think back on my many years of sales experience personally, as well as with my own consulting company, the one that keeps bubbling up is a term that I refer to as shipbuilding. And I want to share that with you. I remember when I first started my company, I needed to build relationships and partnerships so that I could start earning an income and start building clientele. And it wasn't easy because I was starting from scratch, starting from zero. But I remember one of my clients hired me to help him with his leadership development. And I was his business coach. And what I early learned is that he was having trouble with his relationships with his salespeople and also with his vendors and his customers. And he just didn't understand how to build relationships. And he didn't come off as genuine. I remember the salespeople wouldn't even take him out on sales calls. He's the sales manager, but he would talk too much, he wouldn't listen, and like the sales reps would be kicking him under the table just to be quiet. So they didn't even want to take him on a call. He was also responsible for the relationships with many of the vendors, but he just wasn't working on that. He needed help. He needed a sales coach for sure. And I remember working with him for about 3 months, and then he called one day and he's like, "Okay, coach, put me in, I'm ready." And I'm thinking, all right, let's go ahead and try some of these newfound skills. And so the story goes, he went on to a sales call with his sales reps, and he was going to visit a client, which was a prospect, and it was a very large company. I happened to know the gentleman that he was going to be visiting, and for the sake of our story, we're going to call this man Grumpy, because he was just a mean old man. And I'm thinking, oh no, this is the first client he's going to try these new skills on. Anyhow, he goes on to the sales call, and he tells this story of where he's sitting there and his sales rep is sitting beside him. His sales rep is carrying on the conversation, and the Jim, for the sake of the story, we'll call him Jim, is sitting there and he's being so proud. His sales rep's having this wonderful conversation. Grumpy's smiling, carrying on, and they're ready to close the business. And my client Jim is sitting there thinking, oh, that's really great. I let my sales rep do all the talking. And all of a sudden, Grumpy turns to Jim and says, "So what do you do?" And Jim was like just sitting there, like didn't know what to say. And Grumpy said, "So what do you do?" And Jim's like, And behind Grumpy on the wall, kind of like behind me, was this big picture of Grumpy. And Grumpy was standing in front of a big ship, and he was tuna fishing, and he had his arms stretched out, a big smile on his face, and he was standing there with these big fish all the way to the ground. And Jim is just fixed on the picture, and Grumpy's like, "So what do you do?" And Jim's like, I build ships." And Grumpy said, "What do you mean you build ships?" And Jim said, "I build ships. I build partnerships, and I build relationships." And it was at that point that Grumpy and Jim started building their relationship, building their ship together. And he called and told me the story, and I went a little crazy. Started studying key concepts to building successful relationships and partnerships, and calling it shipbuilding, and writing about it, speaking about it, and sharing this message throughout the world. And I want to share some of the key concepts of shipbuilding with you today. So get a pen and let's go ahead and write them down. Now, I started to think about, well, what does it take to create a relationship that's going to last a lifetime? And in sales, that's often difficult because you come across as a salesperson, not really someone that wants to have a relationship. It's almost like you want to sell them something, right? And that's where the shipbuilding concept comes into play, because it's so much more than that. I have relationships with my clients and my customers that I have had for 40 years. And it starts out because of 3 reasons. 1, you listened, you understand, You ask questions. Number 2, they trust you. You have integrity. You're doing and saying what you said you were going to do. And the third one is exceeding expectations. Whatever they expected of you in that relationship, you've exceeded that. Now, I'm going to talk through those 3 things briefly, and I want you to take notes and think about, as we begin this, think about 1 or 2 of the most important relationships or partnerships to your sales success. Maybe you want to have a personal one and a professional one. But one of the number 1 elements of shipbuilding is being a good listener and being a friend, so to speak, listening, asking questions, and understanding. So often in a sales career, you are being programmed to talk and tell. And we know that listening and asking questions and understanding is a key professional sales concept, but so often we forget that. And we just start diving into, here's what I do, and here's what it can do for you, without really connecting to the dots. And when I say connect the dots, it's really being able to repeat back, I understand that this is a need that you have because I heard you, I listened, and here's what I have to offer. And here's what it's going to do for you, Mr. Customer. And I think that it's just that little piece of connecting your offering to what you know and you discovered through listening that they truly want and need. Understanding the need behind what their need is that they might speak to you because you had a conversation and you were listening. Number 2 is trust and integrity. That one's difficult to earn, but the number 1 thing that you can do to build trust and build integrity with your relationship is to do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to get a proposal back to you the next day, make sure you do it the next day. Don't make up excuses. Also, having other clients and friends that have experienced trust and integrity from you, being a witness to that, being a referral to that, can help build the trust of others. Number 3 is exceeding their expectation. Now, this could be the hardest one because for a personal relationship or a professional relationship, you might feel like you're giving it all you got. But understanding what they expect from the relationship. Do you expect me to call you once a week? Do you expect me to see you in person? Do you expect me to send you that message? Like, what is the expectation? And then exceed it. Go above and beyond. If you can concentrate on listening, asking questions, understanding in your relationships, building trust and integrity, and constantly working on that, it's constant work. And the third thing is always looking for ways to exceed what the other person expects. Those 3 key shipbuilding concepts will start to create relationships and partnerships that will last a lifetime. And I know you can do that. Shipbuilding concept really works, and I'd love for you to begin applying it into your career and into your personal life. Great success to you in building those relationships that last a lifetime. Thank you.